Yes, it just happened. I just spent 15 minutes talking to a camera that was actually not recording. We're here today to talk about a book I actually do not want to talk about because I feel like I've wasted enough time on it. If I'm doing this is because if ever people feel like they want to read this, they will put it down and never, ever, ever pick it up ever again. Is it too much? Is it too dramatic? Is it too extra? I do not care. Do not pick this book up. And if you give me 15 minutes of your life, I will explain you why. I read it so you don't have to. Do I have to show this book while I talk about it? Ugh. Anyways, a little bit of a backstory on how we got here. This was actually Kieran's March pick for his book club. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's a recurring theme here, as in, it's again Kieran's fault. Kieran, of course, I'm just kidding. Or am I? Who knows? Maybe I'm not. Anyways, it chose this because apparently it is Better Than Food's favorite book. Like, of all of the books ever published and ever read, this is his favorite book. Let me make something clear here. Anything that comes out of my mouth is not really a critic or a judgment on him as a person, because I don't know him. I've never seen any of his videos except for this one video about a book that I just utterly hate with all of my gut and soul. Do not take any of this personally, please. I'm sure he's a great guy. I just do not agree with what he has to say about this book at all whatsoever. To be honest, I didn't even get to the end of your video. Why am I even talking directly to him right now? It's not like he's gonna see this. What I mean to say is that I didn't make it to the end of his video just because, again, I didn't want to waste any more time on this. So what I did is just take just some idea to dwell on and think on and talk about here. So yeah, Kieran's March pick, and I ordered it at the end of February and I actually got it in time for my birthday. Karma, making sure I never forget, I guess. I was ready to start it on March 1st, but for some reason, that reason being that on March 1st I started my new job and I was just swapped, I pushed it until that weekend. Again, the universe, but I persisted and I haven't stopped regretting it ever since. I love that I wanted to keep this short and I'm just rambling about bullshit. I'm doing it at a supersonic speed, but still rambling about bullshit. If telling you that I regretted it is not enough and you don't understand how painful this was, well, let me just tell you that I read the first half and then I just had to put it down. Like, for my mental health, I had to just put it down. And that's just what I did. For the people who are familiar with this, when I got to chapter 7, that is Marcel's, I don't think any book has ever made me feel the way this made me feel. And I'm tearing up right now. I don't know why. Like, I know why, but I don't want this book to see me cry. I never really fully and deeply understood the importance of it and how some issues, some topics, some scenes, some words could actually make a person feel, and how they could trigger some very bad memories and bad feelings and just, bad mental health. If someone had warned me about how this could affect my sanity, I would have never dreamed of picking this up. It just made me feel things I didn't want to feel. It just was so bad. I had to run away from the environment in which I was reading. This is my personal experience and opinion. I don't want to get into specific or details, but it is something I really want to make clear before going on, because if you feel that reading and even just listening someone talk about issues like rape and violence and murder and suicide is something that could trigger you and could make you feel very bad about yourself, just stop here. Not only you should never read this, but just don't watch this. I love it because I'm basically giving for granted that people who ever feel like reading this are going to watch my video and then be like, okay, no. I mean, I wish that could happen, but it's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Point being, trigger warning, stay away from this bullshit. Going back to my beautiful story, after putting it down and having my mental breakdown, I decided 2 days later to pick it back up. The little psycho in my head needed to finish it. First of all, because I have a really hard time DNFing books. But most importantly, secondly, I finished it because I felt like I needed it to make sense. I needed to get at the end and have it make sense to me. Because otherwise, that pain, that feeling, that everything would have been for nothing. And this is the problem of this book ultimately. I think people make this out to be more than it actually is. People talk about this book as a masterpiece of French literature, a piece of art of sexual literature. I think people see this as what might have been, but was not. I wish it were more insightful. I wish it actually succeeded in what it wanted to do. Shock for shock's sake does not sit well with me. I can understand that you can appreciate this for what it did for subsequential literature, like sexual literature, and we could read and talk about those instead. This did not do the job. I am sorry. Why do we have to make something bigger out of it? Why do we have to put words and concept into the author's mouth that were never there? If you don't see anything wrong with their obsession for Marcel and what they do to her, I am sorry, but to me, you're just as privileged and deaf to the abnormality of these topics and these scenes as the characters in this book. And I can maybe understand that if you read it as a teenager, just as you're starting to get into the world of literature, or you're maturing and you're exploring your own sexual life and just your life in general and your place in society, maybe you could find something into this. Maybe you could see it for something that is actually not. But if you read it when you're already mature and you already know your place in society and you already know how society works, there's no excuse for you to see into it what there isn't. And I'm sorry, I know that I'm repeating myself. I just don't know how to get this through. At 15, at 16, at 18, maybe I could read this and see it as an expression of freedom. But reading this at 26 or 30 or 35 or even 20, to be honest, this is nothing but shock for shock value. We bash TV shows and movies when they use rape as a plot accessory, but we're okay with this? I literally don't even care for their sexual fantasies and their obsessions. They can pee on each other as much as they want. I don't care. She can insert in her vagina whatever she wants, as long as it does not harm other people's freedom. And to be honest, and this is a spoiler, I'm even fine with the murder scene. I actually thought that scene was kind of hilarious, out of the place. It felt more like a caricature of their lives rather than, you know, an episode of their lives, like all the other things that happened. That is to say that I really don't care what they do with their own private personal life. I don't care for her obsession with liquids and pee and water. I don't care for her obsession with eggs and eyes. Even the whole essay about the recurrence of the eye and all these metaphors and how everything is connected. Yes, I saw it while reading it. It's pretty obvious, but the way they try to take it a step further, trying to force symbols and allegories and metaphors and anything on the author and on his work. I'm trying to be very serious, but I feel like the sun is taking it away from me right now. I did have some other thoughts and some other ideas I wanted to elaborate, but to be honest, I don't care anymore. The main point is that this is bullshit. No, but really, the main point is that we need to just stop believe that there is meaning where there is not. We need to stop accepting really just bad writing just because maybe there's something else to it. And I'm not saying this is bad writing. I was gonna say I wish I could read the French original just to see if it's different, but to be honest, I do not. I do not wish to reread it. I do not wish to talk about it again. I always say you can read whatever, literally whatever, as long as you do it critically, because even if it's something racist or sexist or just wrong on any level, you can still take something from it. You can use it in your debate with other people. You can use it to educate people. But in this case, I don't know, there is just nothing there. You can what? Maybe read it to see how it influenced later French authors writing on the same subject but better? No, all the people I read this with from the book club did not understand it. And we're all talking and trying to see if there was something to understood. But really, I don't think there is. I don't think there's anything beyond what's on the surface. Any psychoanalysis to it, any insightful or study on how society works and views depravities, or sexual fantasies, or whatever you want to call them, or why society considers them taboo. If there were, it would be interesting, but there is not. There is just shock for shock's value. And if that didn't harm other people, if that didn't harm irreparably Marcel, I will be fine with it. But what happens to that one character just crosses the line between what's acceptable and what's not. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else to say about this, really. It would be just repeating the same thing over and over again. I could have made a much longer video and talked about each episode and each chapter or each character in depth, but really, is there any need for that? Simone just needs help. She needs medical attention, and not because of her sexual fantasies and what she does with her vagina or doesn't, no, but because she does need help, and no one addresses that, and that is not okay. Marcel, she was violated by the two main characters time and time again, both physically and mentally. She was institutionalized, and they broke her out of there against her wish, basically, taking advantage of how fragile she was, and then just abused her some more until they just broke her. They scared her out of her wits, so far as she committed suicide. The main character is just there for the ride. He just does whatever he thinks Simone is going to approve and like of him to do. And it's fine, there are so many people like that out there. It's basically the prototype of a white rich kid who rapes his girlfriend, and he just gets away with it because, first of all, of course you can't rape your girlfriend, and second of all, he's rich, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And then there's this like super duper rich British guy, and to be honest, I think is the only character I actually understood what the artist was trying to do with, if that makes any sense. I still think it isn't done properly, it's just that it's easier to understand him as a character because there's not much depth to him. It's just like the prototype for any like rich, but like noble, rich, white guy who gets away with murder, basically. Anyways, I feel like I wasted enough of my time and yours on this book. So my conclusion is, people, please stop saying you don't understand this book because there is nothing to understand. I hope I was able to express myself fully, and I hope you understood what I was trying to say, and I hope no one got offended. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm not sure that's the right expression, but I wish I could feel indifference for it, but what I actually feel is rage. Pure rage.